Continuing our look at the very competitive 3 races for Clark County Commission. Today we're focusing on District G. Billy Mitchell running as a Republican for that seat. Jim Gibson's seat now, the incumbent. Mr. Mitchell, good to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you, too.
So let's talk about it. You were talking before we started that you've never run for political office before. What motivated you to run? And for the viewers at home, for the voters at home, some of your background.
So I'm a veteran. I was an ex-school teacher. I raced NASCAR. I built the Fountains of Bellagio, a lot of different engineering projects. I'm an engineering project manager. I just got to a point where I just couldn't sit back anymore. You know, I defended 2 wars, and this isn't the country I remember growing up. So I felt like I needed to get involved, and at the county level seems to be the appropriate place. So,
what is it at the county level that you would want to address first?
We need to do an audit. We need to go through and be more accountable for the money that's being spent and what projects. Working for DOD now, I'm very familiar with government processes, and from what I've seen at the county commission meetings, they're not being followed.
Explain a little bit about that. What do you mean specifically that's not being followed? Give me an example of something that stands out to you that you would like to deal with right away.
So the first thing that came to me was I was at the water commissioning meeting a couple weeks ago, and they just gave them $7.1 million right off the cuff. The way I'm used to dealing with the Department of Defense is you have to put out RFPs, you have to do a bidding process, and you have to justify that financing before you can just say spend $7.1 million on, you know, digitizing records or whatever the excuse here we're giving them.
So you think that sort of there's a blank check at the county commission that you want to try and deal with?
Oh, definitely. I've seen it. The 3 meetings I've been at, even with the voting machines, Gloria stood up there and asked for, you know, another $300,000 and said he needed it today in order to upgrade their machines, and they did it. They turned right to the clerk and said, "Get it to them today."
You don't believe their issues and what they're bringing to the county commission is in good faith?
Well, I don't think anybody even looks at it. I think they just could bring it up. But you got 7 Democrats that are on there. If you look at some of their policies during the COVID mandates and everything, I don't agree with it. I don't think they were in good faith. I think they are doing what they're told from the governor, and they just fall in line with their party.
We're going to touch on COVID again in just a second here, but let's talk about some of the other issues specific to District G, although I guess this is an issue for all of us. It's the issue of water. Mm-hmm. What do you think needs to be done from a Clark County Commission level to help with our water shortages, our water issues, and what's happening at Lake Mead?
So I think the federal government needs to get involved, and I think that our county commissioners and our county needs to facilitate that. That pact that they have, or agreement, was from 1920s. They got to a 2A level just a few weeks ago when the county commission was up there. The reality is that, you know, based off the information that the Southern Nevada Water Authority presented to the county, that we're not using any more water now than we did 10 years ago. So why is the lake going dry? Well, it's real simple. California is using way over their allotment. When they got to a 2A, which is a tier 1 level, they were all supposed to come together and come back with cutbacks. We did that. A matter of fact, I call them the Gibson mandates now, with the pools and the front yards that they just put in. California didn't even come to the table. So at that point, what the county should have done and what the state should have done is they should have filed a federal lawsuit against California for breach of contract. And at that point, it would have forced them to come to the table before it gets down to a 2B level, which the Southern Nevada Water Authority said is going to be in less than 24 months, and they may have to shut the dam down.
Do you support some of those measures, acknowledging the issues with the federal, other states, and that's a whole nother tier, but just specific to the Clark County, you mentioned the Gibson mandates, referencing Jim Gibson. Do you support those measures that were implemented by the county, whether it's the pools, the removing of lawns? Do you support those?
Well, I think the big picture here, and now the studies are coming out that, you know, as we remove the lawns and put in the turf, I know from coaching football, that turf gets very hot. It gets to a point, you know, it looks great on the surface, but until you got to play on it. I mean, the surface temperature at the high schools with the turf is well over, 150 degrees. You got to play with, long sleeves. So it's going to increase the temperatures here in Clark County. So what effect will it have on the water? I don't think it's going to have but maybe 0.01% of the water usage. I think our money and our time to enforce all that can be used in other ways, like Boulder City needs a new water treatment plant, which is in my district. We could be using that budget to do that and try and reclaim water more effectively than we're doing, than to come out to the constituencies and say, okay, well, we're going to start regulating you more with bigger government.
You mentioned this a few seconds ago. You were talking about the COVID mandates. How would you have handled coronavirus, whether it's from a mandate standpoint with masks or with an economic aspect with funding and so forth, if you were in the Clark County Commission 2 years ago in the depths of the pandemic? What would you have done?
So I looked at it, serving in the military and this is biological warfare, okay? And they used it to instill fear. This is right out of Marxism and Machiavelli 101 template, okay? You put fear in people, fear the unknown, and you can actually get them to do whatever you want. If we compare our state to other states that did not do all the things that we did, they're doing better economically. Did it affect or curve anything? No. The reports came from CDC and from Johns Hopkins University that the only thing they actually did was killed 40% of small businesses. And they actually killed our schools. 20% of our kids have not come back to school, and 40% of small businesses, which is the middle class, are gone. They're gone. They have never reopened, and that's another issue that we need to facilitate to try and get those small businesses back. There's 23 steps right now. It's way too expensive. You look from anything from an Uber driver to mom and pop shops. It's just the county can be doing more to try and facilitate that growth.
So what more can be done moving forward? If the past can't be changed, what would you do if you're elected to sort of bring back that help for small businesses?
So we need to streamline that. We need to streamline the processes as far as getting your small business. The other thing is a taxation. We're in a recession. They don't want to admit it. They're gaslighting everybody, but we're in a recession. So we need to look at it from a county level and take a look at what the fees we're charging, stop spending all the money, and say, okay, what can we do to bring our economy back? That's our number one priority. Second priority is obviously law enforcement. Okay, violent crime is going through the roof right now. Every time I turn on your news every morning, they're talking about somebody got stabbed or somebody got killed. I don't even recognize Las Vegas that I grew up here. This is my home.
What do you think District G needs that the incumbent is not providing?
So he doesn't even represent District G. I've had the police department, the fire departments all come to me, the people in Boulder City. He's a career politician. When he left Henderson, he left him with a $90 million deficit that left everybody with a bad taste in their mouth. When he first got appointed to county commissioner, he shouldn't have. He wasn't elected. He lost the mayor race. He didn't even get through the primary with Dina Titus. He should have just said that's the end of politics. But he didn't. He decided to throw his hat in the ring at county commissioner, and I don't think he's really represented Henderson or Boulder City well at all.
And how would you, as someone who's never been in politics, represent it better?
So I think we need to look at, again, small businesses. We need to support our law enforcement, our detention facilities. We need to look at it and say, okay, what do these people need to do their job? What do these people need to actually get their businesses back up and running? Water Street District, Boulder City. These small mom and pop shops need all the help they can get right now, and whether that's just easing the fees, reducing taxes, or streamlining the licensing process through the county, it needs to be done.
One of the things that's sort of been, this is not a county issue, it is a county issue, but it's not a county commission issue, is the school district.
Yes.
We've asked candidates high and low, all political parties, about what can be done. Break it up, keep it together. What changes need to be done? What do you think you would like? What would you like to see done on a county commission level to try and improve things with CCSD?
Well, the first step is county commission needs to get involved. Okay, the county commission has no authority over the Clark County School District, which when I first found that out kind of blew my mind, because they have authority over everything else, including Metro and everything else. So what do? I'm an ex-teacher. I taught and coached football at Coronado High School in Henderson. I saw firsthand what the principals and the teachers are going through. They're not getting the support they need. And now with this new culture that's going around, cancel culture, whatever you want to call it, they're just not getting the backup that they need to do their job. And then we need to look at the standards, because we really need to change the standards, because the federal money right now is dictating the standards, and it's not doing well for our students. Where are our students at 4 or 5 years from now? They're not graduating from college. They don't have a trade school, which we need to really facilitate. I'm a big CTE fan, obviously. So we need to maybe look at these processes, see what we can do to actually improve our community and prepare our youth for the future.
Well, good luck in the election. District G looks like a very interesting race. Obviously, the incumbent, Jim Gibson, and Billy Mitchell, who's running right now for Clark County Commission. Billy, thank you.
Thank you.